Just admit you go to him on weekends. I'll forgive you, I said. She laughed. Forgive me? I should forgive you for 6 miserable years. He gives me what I've never felt in my life. That was the moment. That's when my heart stopped believing in fairy tales. The fire crackled behind me, a bottle of bourbon half drained on the mantel. I wasn't drunk, but I wish I was, because being sober while watching your whole world burn feels like slow poison. Her name was Melissa. My wife. My mistake. She sat across from me, legs crossed like she was on a damn talk show, not mid-confession of betrayal. That laugh she gave, cold, almost amused, it wasn't just a betrayal. It was mockery. You think I'm the villain, she said, twirling her wine glass. You didn't touch me for 8 months. You call that marriage? Let me rewind just a few hours. Friday night. I came home early from a project trip. I wasn't supposed to be back till Sunday, but a client canceled last minute, and I thought, why not surprise her? Maybe take her to that old cabin she liked. Reignite something. Stupid me. I walked in and saw the signs immediately, the second wine glass, a man's coat I didn't recognize, and this one stabbed me, her smile when she turned around. Not shock. Not joy. A quick twitch of panic, then a smile. A lie loading in her throat. Caleb, she said sweetly, walking up for a kiss that landed half-hearted on my cheek. You're back early. Whose coat is that? I asked, pointing. Oh, she said, too fast. Lawrence. Her boyfriend's. She stopped by. Just girl talk. He waited in the car. Girl talk? With whiskey on the rocks and his damn coat still warm. I let it slide. I had to be sure. I'm not the kind of guy who throws accusations like darts in the dark. I needed proof. That night, I didn't sleep. I waited until she was dead asleep, and I did something I had never done in our 6 years. I went through her phone. I felt dirty. I felt low. But what I found made me feel something far worse. She had a folder, hidden in notes, password locked. Too bad I knew her dog's birthday. Inside? Screenshots of hotel reservations, videos, messages like, you make me feel alive, like I've been sleepwalking through my marriage. I love how you take control. Can't wait for this weekend. I told Caleb I'm visiting my sister. I sat on the edge of the bed, looking at her sleeping face, peaceful, like a corpse, like a ghost of the woman I married. The next morning, I didn't say a word. I cooked breakfast. She smiled at me like nothing had happened, like she didn't have a secret man with hotel sheets in her memories. And then, once she was done sipping her coffee, I dropped it. Just admit you go to him on weekends. I'll forgive you. She blinked, then smiled, then laughed. Forgive me, she said. I should forgive you for 6 miserable years. 6 years of routine, silence, cold sheets. You didn't even notice when I stopped loving you. He gives me what I've never felt in my life. That sentence still echoes in my skull. Not screamed, not shouted. Calm, delivered like a surgeon with a scalpel. I didn't cry. I didn't shout. I stood up, took out my phone, called her brother. Ryan, I said, come get your sister. Why? He asked, confused. She doesn't live here anymore. She laughed again. You're being dramatic. That's when I handed her the duffel bag. Already packed. Already zipped. Her phone buzzed twice. His name, Zane. I saw it. She didn't bother to hide it anymore. She left, high heels clicking like war drums. Not a single tear. Not even a sorry. And me? I sat by the fireplace and counted the missed calls. One by one. The first came from her. Then her mom. Then her friend. Then Zane. Then Melissa again. Over and over. Until the number hit 176. Because that night, I didn't just let her go. I started planning. And when I plan, I finish. The night she left, the silence didn't feel peaceful. It felt surgical. Like something had been cut out of my chest, and the bleeding hadn't started yet. I just sat there, staring at the last flame in the fireplace flicker into nothing. That duffel bag I packed for her? I knew exactly what I was doing. Every fold of her clothes, every pair of heels I threw in, I was saying goodbye, not just to a person, but to a fantasy I clung to like an idiot. She didn't take the coat. Zane's coat. It still hung there by the door, like a trophy. I didn't move it. I left it there. I wanted it to stare at me, to remind me what she had become, what I had allowed. That morning, I called in sick to work, which was ironic, because I had never been sicker in my life. But I wasn't going to waste the day crying or feeling sorry for myself. No, I had things to do. You see, I wasn't some helpless loser. I wasn't going to let her walk all over me and then stroll off into a romantic weekend with her alpha fantasy. I'm an engineer. My brain is wired for blueprints, systems, strategy. And now, revenge was the project. But first, I needed more data. You can't go to war blind. I went back through her phone. Yes, she left it. Probably switched to her side device, or maybe she was just too flustered after I threw her out to think clearly. Either way, it was her final mistake. Zane. That was his name. Tall. Gym rat. Sales manager at some trendy car dealership downtown. I knew the type. Loud, shiny teeth, flashy watch, deep pockets, or at least the illusion of them. The kind of guy who thrives on shallow admiration and Instagram likes. I scrolled through their texts. Some made me want to break things. Others made me cold. Not angry. Not devastated. Just cold. Because it wasn't just physical. She said things to him she never said to me. Secrets. Fantasies. Promises. She sent him pictures. In my house. In my bed. He told her he wanted her to move in with him. She said, soon. After I handle things with Caleb. Handle? Handle. Like I was some leftover errand on her to-do list. I took screenshots. Not for memories. For ammunition. Then I opened my laptop and got to work. First, I changed the passwords to everything. Our shared Netflix, our utilities, even the Spotify playlist she used at the gym. Petty? Maybe. But it was just the warm-up. Then I emailed the leasing company of her car. My name was on the lease. I had the legal right to revoke her access, so I did. That shiny black SUV she flaunted around town? She'd find it gone by Monday. Her gym membership? I canceled the auto payment. She never switched the card from mine. Her favorite beauty subscription? Cut. And then I booked something I knew would break her more than words, the spa weekend she planned with Zane. The same weekend she told me she was visiting her cousin in Vermont. Yeah, I booked the same exact suite, under my name. And I made sure to leave a little surprise in the special requests note. Please arrange a romantic, welcome back to monogamy gift set for Mr. and Mrs. Walker. Why? Because I wasn't just going to ruin the trip. I was going to make it awkward, let them check in under my name, discover the bed covered in rose petals with a framed photo of our wedding day on the nightstand. Then I texted her from her phone to Zane. Hey babe, change of plans. Caleb found out. He's not taking it well. Talk later. Hit send. Boom. Chaos triggered. 10 minutes later, her phone vibrated like it was possessed. Zane. Over and over. Then Melissa. Then her best friend Kayla. I didn't answer any of them. I just sat in my office, sipping coffee, calmly watching the panic unfold. It felt good. Not because I'm cruel, but because for once, she was the one drowning in consequences. That was just phase one. Next came the deeper CUT.by Saturday afternoon. I had 42 missed calls, and that was just the beginning. Her side of the world was on fire, and mine was finally starting to cool. I didn't answer any of them. Not Melissa. Not Kayla. Not Zane. Especially not Zane. But I watched the messages roll in like waves during a storm. One after another, all with the same tone, confused, panicked, angry. She even had the audacity to send. We need to talk. You're overreacting. Overreacting? I built her a life. She gave me deception wrapped in lip gloss and perfume. And now, suddenly, I'm the dramatic one? Let me tell you about the moment the real cracks started showing. Around 5 p.m., Melissa actually showed up at the house. She rang the bell like a polite neighbor, not a woman who just detonated our marriage. I didn't open the door. I watched her from the upstairs window. She paced on the porch, phone in hand, dialing someone, then yelling, then pacing again. I could tell she wasn't getting the answers she wanted from Zane. Good. Let her feel the silence she left me with. When she finally gave up and walked back to her car, she saw it. The coat. Zane's coat, still hanging on the hook by the door. She froze. I watched her through the blinds. Her face twisted, not in guilt, but annoyance. Like I had broken the rules of the game by displaying her little secret. She walked back up to the door and pounded this time. Open the door, Caleb. I didn't. You're being a child. That made me laugh. Me? A child? For not playing doormat to her midnight rodeo with Mr. Testosterone? Then came the final straw. She shouted. You're destroying everything because you can't handle the fact that someone else actually wanted me. Oh, there it was. The dagger. The spite. The real her, not the one I married, but the one who'd been growing in the shadows. I didn't say a word. I waited until she left. Then I went down, opened the door, and took Zane's coat. I didn't throw it out. I mailed it. To his office. With a note inside that read, Make sure she dry cleans her lies next time. Caleb. But I wasn't done. I had one more card to play that weekend, one more truth to shove into the light. Melissa had been posting on social media for months about her perfect marriage, pretending everything was sunshine while she was playing house and hotels with Zane. So I logged into our shared photo drive, still synced, still open, and I uploaded a file titled Truth. Inside, I put every screenshot, every message, every reservation, and I sent the link to her entire family group chat. Her mom, her two sisters, even her Aunt Donna, who once told me Melissa was too good for me. Guess I wasn't good at a lot of things, but I was excellent at exposure. An hour later, her mother called. I didn't answer. Kayla texted. What the hell, Caleb? This is low. I replied. Not as low as lying to someone who paid your rent for 2 months, Kayla. Silence. Then, finally, Zane himself tried to FaceTime me. I answered. One time. Just to see his face. He looked confused. Not like a man who was sorry. Like a man who just realized the mess wasn't romantic anymore. It was complicated. You need to chill, he said. This is between me and her. I smiled. No, Zane. It's between you, her, and every missed call you're going to get from the HR department Monday morning. Click. Because did I mention? Melissa used my home office Wi-Fi to log into his company portal last week. And I might have recorded it. Sunday morning came like a quiet before a second storm. Not the kind of calm that soothes you, the kind that creeps under your skin, whispering, it's not over yet. I woke up at 6 a.m., not because of an alarm, but because my phone vibrated nonstop. She was trying to reach me again. Melissa had officially crossed from indignant to desperate. Her texts went from smug and accusatory to frantic and confused. Caleb, please, we need to fix this. Don't ruin everything. You're acting like a stranger. You don't know the full story. He doesn't even mean anything. I just needed something else. Something else. 6 years of building a life. Of paying bills. Of working late so she didn't have to. And all I lacked, apparently, was being something else. But it wasn't just her texts anymore. Screenshots started to surface. Zane had posted on his Instagram stories, shirtless, flexing, trying to show off, and someone messaged me anonymously with a recording. Apparently, Zane was bragging about finally getting Caleb's girl. He said it like it was a trophy. Like Melissa was an achievement, not a person. Which, come to think of it, made sense. Because that's how she let him treat her. I knew I should have felt rage. Maybe jealousy. But all I felt was disgust. I realized something that morning. I wasn't heartbroken anymore. I was just done. That's when I made a decision. Not out of vengeance. Not to cause more chaos. But to finally cut the thread for good. I'd already filed a preliminary divorce notice online the night before. But now, I would deliver the final punch. The personal one. I wrote her a letter. No threats. No drama. Just the kind of clarity she never gave me. Melissa. You once said he gives you what you've never felt. Good. Because you've given me something I never felt either. Freedom. I hope he treats you exactly the way you deserve. And I hope you realize what you lost when you mistook loyalty for weakness. The house is being sold. The lawyer will be in touch. I'm not angry anymore. I'm free. Caleb. I printed it, folded it neatly, and slipped it into the envelope with her favorite necklace, the one she swore she'd wear forever, the one I found tangled in the bedsheets after she left. Then I drove. Not to her new place. I didn't need to see her anymore. I went to her mother's house. Her mom opened the door and didn't say a word. Just stared at me like I was a ghost. I handed her the envelope and said, give this to her. And tell her I'm not coming back. Her mom whispered, she's been crying for 2 days. I nodded. So did I. The difference is, I did it quietly, while paying her phone bill. I turned and left. No yelling. No revenge speech. Just a man who had finally reached the end of the chapter and refused to turn the page back. That evening, I got one final call from Zane. I picked it up. I needed to hear his voice one last time, not for closure, but for confirmation. Bro, he started. I didn't know she'd go that far. She's been losing it. I smirked. You thought you were just stealing a girl. Turns out, you adopted a disaster. He hung up. And that was that. No more texts. No more begging. Just a quiet inbox. Just silence. And for the first time in a long time. It felt good. 3 days. That's how long it took for the noise to die. The calls slowed. The text trickled down to nothing but silence. And silence, when you've lived in chaos, doesn't feel empty. It feels earned. I slept like a corpse on the third night. No dreams. No regrets. Just stillness. When I woke up, I brewed my coffee and stared out the window as the sun rose, realizing something I hadn't dared admit before. Melissa didn't break me. She freed me. But that didn't mean I was done. I wasn't the kind of man who lets a storm pass without rebuilding the walls better than before. So I started working. On myself. The gym hadn't seen me in months. Work had consumed me, making money, chasing promotions, trying to be the provider. All for someone who was sneaking off every other weekend to feel something new. Now, it was time to reallocate that energy. First stop, a new apartment. I didn't want to live in the same house where her perfume still haunted the air, or where our wedding photo once hung above the fireplace like a lie framed in wood. I signed a lease that week. Downtown. Exposed brick. Clean slate. Second stop, cutting the rot out of my life. I went through every social media account and blocked her. Then her friends. Kayla especially, the one who had no idea about the affair but somehow liked every photo of them at the spa. I didn't need that fake sympathy or those crocodile tears that always come after the fallout. I left a few photos of Melissa in the box of memories I stored away, not out of sentiment, but out of respect for the man I used to be. That man deserved to be remembered. Not pitted. Not hated. Just acknowledged. Third stop, the lawyer's office. The divorce filing was simple. We had no kids. The house would be sold. Accounts would be split. She tried to call to discuss things civilly. I redirected her to my attorney. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of hearing my voice anymore. But something happened on Thursday. Something unexpected. I ran into Zane. I was at a gas station off the freeway, filling up my car when he pulled in next to me in his flashy silver Camaro, the kind of car that screams, "Look at me," while quietly whispering, "I'm insecure." He stepped out and noticed me. He hesitated, then walked over. "Hey," he said, sounding less like the cocky alpha I'd seen in pictures and more like a kid who got caught cheating on a test. I didn't say anything, just stared. She moved out," he muttered. "After everything blew up. Said she needed space." I smiled. "From what?" "The truth." He rubbed the back of his neck. "Look, man, I didn't know how deep you two were. I didn't mean." "You didn't mean to ruin a marriage?" I interrupted. "Or you didn't mean to get caught?" He looked down. Said nothing. I finished pumping my gas and walked around to the driver's seat. "Before I got in," I said, "you thought you won something. But you just inherited a woman who ruins everything she touches." He opened his mouth to say something, but I was already inside and pulling away. As I drove off, I caught a glimpse of him in the mirror, standing there, empty, like a man who realized the trophy was made of rust. It wasn't revenge. It was justice. And I didn't have to lift a single hand to get by the end of the week. The noise had gone completely silent. My lawyer informed me Melissa hadn't responded to the final settlement. She was stalling, probably waiting for me to reach out. Maybe she thought I'd soften, that I'd wake up one morning and feel a hole where she used to be. She was wrong. I felt whole for the first time in years. But just when I thought she had vanished for good, a letter arrived. A real one. Envelope. Handwritten. No return address. But the handwriting was unmistakable, hers. Even the way she looped her M's like a schoolgirl pretending to be sophisticated. I considered tossing it. I stood over the trash bin, thumb pressed under the flap, heart strangely calm. But curiosity won. I opened it. "Caleb, I know you probably hate me. You have every right to. But there are things I need to say that I couldn't when everything exploded. I didn't mean to fall for him. I didn't go looking. I just started feeling invisible. You were always working, always tired. I started to wonder if I was even wanted anymore. That's not an excuse. I'm not proud of what I did. But Zane made me feel something again. Something I thought I'd lost. I never planned to leave you. I just wanted to feel alive. When you found out and packed my things, part of me was relieved. You forced the truth out into the open. Now, everything's gone. He's gone. We fought. He blamed me for everything. He said I was a drama magnet. Maybe I am. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. Not because I want you back. I know that ship sailed. But because you didn't deserve the way I made you feel. Melissa, I read it twice. Once with anger. Once with understanding. Then I folded it neatly, placed it back in the envelope, and burned it in the kitchen sink. Her words didn't move me. They didn't pierce or stir or ache. They simply existed, too little, far too late. That same night, I went out for dinner with an old friend from college, Rachel. She'd reached out after seeing my profile pop up on LinkedIn with the new job title and new city tag. We met at a quiet Italian place. No expectations. Just two people with old stories and new scars. When I told her what had happened, she didn't gasp. She didn't pity me. She just listened, then said something I won't forget. You don't realize how much of yourself you've given away until you're finally alone with what's left. She was right. Melissa hadn't just cheated. She had hollowed out pieces of me slowly over the years, with cold silences, with excuses, with every later that never came. And now, standing on the other side of that fire, I could finally take inventory of what was mine again. That night, I walked Rachel to her car. We talked about old movies, favorite songs, and how weirdly healing silence could be when it wasn't wrapped in lies. She looked at me before getting in and said, "You're not as broken as you think." I smiled. "I'm not broken at all," I said. "I was just with someone who needed to break people to feel whole." She nodded. Then she left. And for once, I didn't feel like I needed to chase anything. I went home, poured a drink, and watched the city lights from my new balcony. Melissa's letter was gone. But the lesson? Still burning. The strange thing about healing is that it doesn't announce itself. There's no siren, no dramatic monologue, no orchestra swelling in the background. It sneaks in, quietly. One moment, you're numb. The next, you're breathing again. I noticed it when I walked past a couple arguing on the street. A year ago, I would have flinched, thinking of Melissa's voice cutting through our kitchen like a blade. But now, I barely blinked. That wound was a scar still there, still a reminder, but not bleeding anymore. Life was simpler now. No lies. No guessing games. No pretending. I filled my time with the things I had long abandoned. I picked up running again. Not for fitness, but for clarity. There's something brutally honest about running in the cold, the sting on your face, the burn in your lungs. It strips away everything fake. It became my therapy. I started cooking again too. Real meals. Things Melissa used to roll her eyes at. She once told me cooking was a waste of energy when Uber Eats exists. But I found peace in chopping garlic, in the sizzle of olive oil hitting a hot pan, and feeding myself with care instead of convenience. Work was good. Better than ever, actually. Promotion was on the table, and this time, I wasn't pushing for it just to be worthy in someone's eyes. I was chasing it for me. For the version of myself I almost forgot existed. And then came the invitation. It was a wedding, my cousin Jake and his fiancée, Taylor. They had been together since college and somehow still looked at each other like the world hadn't touched them yet. I almost didn't go. But then I thought, no, this is the moment. The one where I prove, not to her, not to anyone else, but to myself, that I'm not carrying her ghost anymore. So I went. The wedding was beautiful. A garden venue. Late afternoon sunlight. Laughter and clinking glasses. Real love. No games. During the reception, I was seated next to a woman named Eliza, a lawyer from D.C., sharp as a tack and quick with a laugh. We hit it off immediately. Not in the desperate, flirty way. In the you've lived through fire, too kind of way. She told me about her ex, a charming consultant who turned out to be charming everyone else too. I told her about Melissa briefly, cleanly, without venom. Eliza raised her glass. To the ones who broke us, she said. I raised mine. And to the pieces we took back. We clinked glasses, and for the first time in a long time, I laughed without bitterness sitting on my chest. Later that night, I danced. Not well, not impressively. But I danced. And Eliza danced with me. No promises were made. No futures were fantasized. Just two people in the present, finally present, sharing something real. As the evening wore on, I stepped outside for some air. The music drifted through the trees, and the stars above reminded me how small some betrayals really are in the grand scheme of things. My phone buzzed once. A message. Melissa. I heard about your new job. Congrats. I always knew you had it in you. I didn't reply. Not out of spite. Out of peace. Because I finally understood, not every fire needs water. Some things are meant to burn. And some men, we rise from it. 6 months had passed. A season changed. So did I. By now, everything that once defined my old life was just distant. Not forgotten, not erased, but filed away. The house was sold. The divorce finalized. The papers signed in silence. Her signature looked like a stranger's. I didn't feel a thing as I slid them into the envelope. No anger. No satisfaction. Just closure. Melissa was officially part of a past that no longer held power over me. I never responded to her last message. I never blocked her either. I didn't need to. She faded out on her own, like a song I used to know all the words to, now barely a hum in the background. I'd changed my number since then, not because of her, but because of what that number represented. Late-night calls, missed birthdays, voicemails that made promises they never kept. It was time to detach from everything that had once made me smaller. I wasn't just healing. I was becoming. One evening, I sat on the balcony of my new place, watching the sun die behind the skyline. The city looked different now. Not louder, not brighter, just honest. Like it no longer needed to impress me. It simply was. And I could finally breathe in it. Rachel, the old college friend, had become someone I spoke to more often. We weren't dating. Not yet. But we were real. Transparent. She didn't flinch when I mentioned my past. She didn't try to fix me or romanticize the damage. She just saw me. And I saw her. We met for coffee every Sunday. Talked about work, old professors, how strange it felt to be 30 and finally learning what boundaries really meant. One day, she asked me, "Do you regret any of it?" I paused. And for the first time, my answer wasn't a lie. No, I said. Because pain was the only language I understood back then. And I had to learn to stop translating it into love. She nodded. That was enough. A week later, I found the old shoebox I'd stuffed with keepsakes from my marriage, letters, cards, printed photos we never framed. I sat with it for 20 minutes, hands resting on the lid, unsure if I even wanted to open it. Then I did. I looked at each piece. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just observed. I saw the man I used to be. How hard he tried. How deeply he loved. How blindly he trusted. And how much of that man I was proud to have been, even if she wasn't. Then I burned it all. Not for revenge. Not for drama. For release. Somewhere between the flames and the ashes, I forgave myself. Not for loving her, but for staying too long when she stopped loving me. The next morning, I woke up and wrote something down. I didn't know what I'd do with it. Maybe post it. Maybe keep it for myself. But it poured out of me like truth waiting its turn. To the man still checking her phone, stop. To the man wondering why you weren't enough, you were. To the man afraid of starting over, you already have. She didn't leave because you were lacking. She left because she couldn't match your loyalty. And deep down, she knew it. That's my advice now. To any man who's been gutted by betrayal, you don't win by hurting her back. You win by remembering who you were before she made you doubt your worth. You win by rebuilding brick by honest brick, a life so steady, not even a memory of her can shake it. So here I am, standing tall in the aftermath. Not bitter, not broken, just better.